53% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency right now. Not a medical crisis, not a job loss. $1,000, a bad tire, and a mechanic bill, and they are in debt. That is the country we were living in before a war sent gas up $1 a gallon, before diesel spiked 80 cents in a single week, adding $40 billion in costs to the trucking industry that moves everything you eat and wear and use, before the fertilizer that grows your food got trapped in a war zone with no way out, before mortgage rates reversed 3 years of progress in 7 days, before the Fed told us this week that they have no idea how bad it is going to get and they are not cutting rates. That is the world you are sitting in right now. And in my last 3 videos I showed you exactly how this war is draining your wallet from 10 different directions. But today, I am not here to tell you what is going wrong. Today, I am here to tell you what to do about it. 10 moves, all free, all actionable this week. No financial advisor required. Some of these are going to save you hundreds of dollars in the next 30 days. One of them could save you thousands this year. And the last one, the one I saved for number 1, has nothing to do with money at all, and it might be the most important thing you hear all year. Let's get into it. Number 10. Run a brutal, honest audit on every single dollar leaving your bank account this month, because the money you are bleeding right now is money you cannot afford to lose. Before I give you a single piece of advice about what to buy or where to put your money or what to do with your investments, I need you to do something first, and it is the thing that 90% of Americans refuse to do even though it is free and takes less than an hour. You need to sit down and look at every single transaction that left your bank account and your credit cards in the last 30 days. Every single one, not a rough estimate, not a vague sense of where your money goes. The actual numbers. Because here is what the data tells us about how Americans manage their money, and it is shocking. According to Bankrate's 2026 Emergency Savings Report, only 47% of Americans could cover a $1,000 emergency expense from savings. That means more than half the country is one car repair, one medical bill, one broken appliance away from going into debt or missing a payment. And 54% of Americans said they are saving less for emergencies right now because of inflation and rising prices. So the majority of people are not just failing to build a cushion, they are actively losing ground. And I want to connect this to what is happening right now with the war, because this is not abstract. Gas is up nearly $1 a gallon in 3 weeks. Electricity rates are climbing. Grocery prices are about to spike from the fertilizer crisis. Diesel is up 80 cents, which means every product you buy is getting more expensive. Your credit card interest rate is sitting at 21%, and the Fed just told us they are not cutting rates. Every single cost in your life is going up and almost none of your income sources are going up at the same speed. So the first thing you need to do before anything else on this list is figure out exactly where your money is going so you can find the leaks. And I promise you there are leaks. The average American household is subscribed to 4.7 streaming services according to recent surveys. That is anywhere from $50 to $80 a month on entertainment alone. Add in the gym membership you use twice a month, the cloud storage you forgot you are paying for, the app subscriptions that auto-renew, the food delivery fees that add $15 to $20 per order, and you are looking at hundreds of dollars a month that are quietly draining out of your account while you are not paying attention. A certified financial planner named Duria Pierce from Fruitful Advisory said it best when she told CNBC that you need to get a system in place so you do not have to think too much about money. And the 50-30-20 rule is the simplest framework that exists. 50% of your take-home pay goes to necessities, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt payoff. But here is the reality that nobody wants to say out loud. For most Americans right now, necessities are eating way more than 50% because of how much prices have gone up. That guy in Florida who broke down his budget to the penny, $54,000 a year just to exist, mortgage, insurance, utilities, gas, groceries, zero luxuries, that is not an outlier. That is the new baseline for millions of people. So if your necessities are already consuming 60 or 70% of your income, you need to know that so you can make intentional decisions about what gets cut from the remaining 30. Not guesses, not vibes, actual numbers on a spreadsheet or a budgeting app like YNAB or Monarch Money or even a notebook. Because in the economy we are living in right now, every dollar that you spend without thinking is a dollar that could have gone toward the emergency fund that is going to be the difference between surviving what is coming and getting crushed by it. Do the audit. Do it tonight. Do it before you watch another video on this channel. Because everything else I am about to tell you depends on you knowing where you stand right now. Number 9. Build a war chest of cash that can cover 90 days of your life and do it like your financial survival depends on it, because it might. Once you have done the audit and you know exactly what your monthly baseline is, The single most important financial move you can make right now in March of 2026 is to build an emergency fund. And I do not care if you have heard this advice 1,000 times, because the data tells me most of you have not actually done it. Bankrate found that 29% of Americans have more credit card debt than emergency savings. Let me say that differently. Nearly 1 in 3 Americans owe more on their credit cards than they have saved for emergencies. And Gen Xers, people in their 40s and 50s who are supposed to be in their peak earning years, have median emergency savings of just $500, according to Empower's 2025 survey. $500. That would not cover a single month of that Florida guy's budget. It would not cover 1 month of rent in any major city in this country. And with the economy shedding 92,000 jobs in February, with the unemployment rate ticking up to 4.4%, with the labor market stuck in what economists are calling a low-hire, low-fire state, where companies are not laying off massively, but they are absolutely not hiring either, you cannot afford to be sitting at $500 in savings right now. Because if you lose your job in this market, the average time to find a new one has been stretching out. The TD Bank Financial Preparedness Survey found that 72% of respondents have been impacted by unexpected bills, and among those affected, 59% went into debt. That is the reality. Most Americans are 1 bad month away from debt, and this war just made bad months a lot more likely. So here is what I want you to do, and I am going to give you the specific mechanics because generic advice like just save more is useless if you do not know how. First, calculate your survival number. Not your comfortable number. Your survival number, that is rent or mortgage, utilities, food, transportation, insurance, and minimum debt payments, nothing else. For most people, that number is going to be somewhere between $2,500 and $4,500 a month, depending on where you live. Now multiply that by 3. That is your 90-day war chest target. And I am calling it a war chest intentionally, because we are literally in a war economy right now, and you need to treat your personal finances with that level of urgency. Second, open a separate high-yield savings account if you do not already have one. Do not keep your emergency fund in the same checking account you spend from, because you will spend it. Online banks are still offering around 4% APY, which means your money is actually earning something while it sits there. Financial coach Jason Fannin from Cornerstone Financial Services said that automation is the key because you are less likely to stash money away if you rely on willpower. Set up an automatic transfer from every paycheck, even if it is $25 or $50. The amount matters less than the consistency. Third, and this is the part most people skip, you need to give the account a name. This sounds ridiculous, but behavioral finance research shows it works. Name it something specific like 90-day war chest or family emergency fund. When you label it, it becomes psychologically harder to rate it for non-emergencies. Fanon said when you label it that way, it feels real. And fourth, if you have absolutely no margin to save right now, look at what you can sell. Financial coach Emily Guy Birkin, author of The 5 Years Before You Retire, said people underestimate how much value is sitting in their garages and attics: duplicate kitchen gadgets, old electronics, clothes you do not wear, tools you do not use. Post them on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp, or do a yard sale. Use every dollar of that to seed your emergency fund. Because here is the truth that nobody wants to hear. In the economy we are heading into, having cash on hand is not a luxury. It is the single biggest determinant of whether you get through a crisis intact or whether you end up in a debt spiral that takes years to climb out of. The people who had 90 days of cash when COVID hit in 2020 came out okay. The people who did not are still carrying the credit card debt from it 6 years later at 21% interest. Do not be in the second group this time. Start building your war chest today. Not tomorrow. Today. Number 8. Stock your pantry right now before the fertilizer shockwave hits the grocery shelves this fall. And I am going to tell you exactly what to buy and what to skip. Okay guys, this one is time sensitive, and I mean that literally because there is a window right now, the next 60 to 90 days, where grocery prices on shelf-stable items are still relatively close to where they were before the war. That window is going to close, and I am going to explain exactly why and then tell you exactly what to do about it. As we covered in the previous videos, the Strait of Hormuz closure has trapped roughly a third of the world's seaborne fertilizer trade. Urea prices have surged 35%. Sulfur, which is essential for phosphate fertilizers, is essentially cut off from global markets. The American Farm Bureau Federation warned President Trump directly that the U.S. risks a shortfall in crops, and the UN World Food Program projected that 45 million additional people could be pushed into acute hunger if this continues into mid-year. Now, here is the timeline you need to understand. The fertilizer that is not getting to American farmers right now was supposed to be applied during the spring planting season, which is happening as we speak, March through May. Farmers who cannot get fertilizer or who cannot afford it at 35% higher prices are either going to plant less acreage, use less fertilizer and accept lower yields, or switch to less fertilizer-intensive crops. Any of those outcomes means less grain, less corn, less wheat coming out of the ground in the fall harvest. And when supply drops, prices go up. The USDA already projected food-at-home prices to rise another 2 to 3% in 2026 before the war even started, with beef specifically projected to jump 9.4%. Layer the fertilizer crisis on top of that, and you are looking at potentially 10 to 15% increases on grain-based products by late summer and fall. Chief economist Claudia Sahm from New Century Advisors put it perfectly when she said inflation can slow, but grocery shelves almost never roll back prices. Waiting for things to get cheaper is not a savings plan, it is wishful thinking. So here is what I want you to do this week, not next month. This week. First, build a 30-day pantry buffer of shelf-stable foods that you actually eat. I am not telling you to hoard. I am not telling you to panic buy. I am telling you to buy an extra bag of rice, an extra few cans of beans, an extra box of pasta, an extra jar of peanut butter, an extra bag of oats every single time you go to the store for the next month. Dried beans are one of the most cost-effective protein sources on the planet, and they last for years. A pound of dry black beans costs about $1 and makes roughly 6 servings. That is 17 cents per serving of protein and fiber. Compare that to ground beef at $7 to $8 a pound. Rice, oats, canned tomatoes, canned tuna, olive oil, peanut butter, dried lentils, and frozen vegetables should be your core list. Frozen vegetables are actually more nutritious than a lot of fresh produce because they are flash frozen within hours of harvest, locking in the vitamins. Second, stop throwing food away. The USDA estimates that the average American household wastes about $1,500 worth of food per year. That is $125 a month that you are literally putting in the garbage. Use what you have before buying more. Cook with leftovers. Plan your meals loosely around what is about to expire in your fridge. One person on Reddit reported cutting $90 a month off their grocery bill just by tracking and reducing snack purchases. Third, switch to store brands immediately. Amrita Bashan, the CEO of Sotira, told Consumer Reporters that premium branded products and store brands are often the exact same product made in the same facility, you are just paying for the label. Making that single switch can save you 10 to 20% on your grocery bill with zero reduction in quality. The people who start building their pantry buffer now at today's prices are going to be thanking themselves in September when the fertilizer shockwave hits the shelves. The people who wait are going to be paying 15% more for the same bag of rice. The math is simple. Act now. Number 7. Lock in your utility rates before the LNG shock eats your budget alive because your electric bill is about to become one of your biggest monthly expenses. This one is going to save some of you hundreds of dollars over the next 12 months, and most people have no idea it is even an option. So pay close attention because what I am about to tell you applies to roughly half the country, and it could be the single highest return financial move you make this year. If you live in a deregulated energy state, which includes Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and parts of about 15 other states, you have the ability to choose your electricity supplier and lock in a fixed-rate plan. And right now, before the full impact of the Iran war's LNG shock hits the domestic electricity market, is the absolute best time to do it. Let me explain why this matters so much. Owen Quinlan, the head of data at Arbor, who pulls his numbers from the Federal Reserve and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, pointed out that electricity prices have risen 111% since 2004, faster than rent and groceries. Over just the past year alone, they are up 5.5%, more than double the rate of overall inflation. And the drivers of this, AI data centers, EV charging infrastructure, and extreme weather events, are not going away. They are accelerating. Quinlan called electricity the standout risk for 2026 because unlike streaming or discretionary goods, you cannot cancel your power bill. And right now, with Qatari LNG production shut down from Iranian missile strikes, with European and Asian LNG futures up 77 and 51% respectively, with American LNG exporters pulling more gas out of the domestic market to sell overseas at premium prices, the upward pressure on electricity rates is enormous, and it is going to get worse before it gets better. So here is what you do. Step 1. Pull out your most recent electricity bill and look for the supply charge. If that number changes month to month, you are on a variable rate plan and you are exposed to every price spike in the energy market. Quinlan said explicitly, if it changes month to month, you are likely on a variable plan and could lock in a better fixed rate. Step 2. Go to your state's energy comparison website or use a marketplace like Choose Energy or Electricity Plans to compare fixed-rate plans from different suppliers. Energy experts recommend choosing a fixed-rate plan for the most stability because it protects you from market spikes and gives you a predictable budget number. Step 3. If you are in a regulated state where you cannot choose your supplier, call your utility and ask about two things. First, ask about levelized billing, which is a program that averages your annual usage and gives you the same bill every month. It does not save you money in total, but it eliminates the shock of a $300 bill in August when the AC is running. Second, ask about time-of-use rate plans. These charge lower rates during off-peak hours, typically after 7 p.m. and before 3 p.m. If you can shift when you run your dishwasher, do laundry, and charge devices to those off-peak windows, you can save 5 to 25% according to multiple utility analysis reports. And there is one more option that most people have never heard of: community solar. In participating states, you can subscribe to a share of a local solar farm and receive credits on your utility bill without installing a single panel on your roof. Quinlan said this can guarantee 5 to 10% monthly savings with no action required on your part beyond signing up. And finally, tackle vampire energy in your home. Smart power strips cost $20 to $40, and they automatically cut power to devices in standby mode. NerdWallet reported that this alone can save $100 to $200 a year. Adjust your thermostat 7 to 10 degrees when you are sleeping or away from home, which the Department of Energy says reduces heating and cooling costs by about 10% annually. And if you have not switched to LED bulbs yet, do it this weekend. Swapping out incandescent bulbs saves the average household $225 per year, according to NerdWallet's analysis. The point of all of this is that electricity is not a fixed cost you have no control over. There are levers you can pull right now, today, that will reduce your exposure to the energy shock that is barreling toward your mailbox. And the people who lock in their rates and reduce their consumption now are going to be in a dramatically better position than the people who do nothing and open their bill in July wondering why it doubled. Number 6. Attack your highest interest debt like your life depends on it, because at 21%, every dollar you owe is working against you around the clock. Okay, I need to get real with you for a second because this one is not sexy and it is not exciting and nobody wants to hear it, but it might be the single most important financial move you can make in the next 90 days, and it is this. If you are carrying credit card debt at the average American interest rate of 21%, that debt is a financial emergency, not a financial inconvenience, an emergency, and the Iran war just made it worse because the Fed is now trapped. They cannot cut rates because inflation is reaccelerating from the oil shock. Some analysts are even discussing rate hikes, which means the interest rate on your credit card, which is variable and tied to the prime rate, is not coming down anytime soon. You are locked into the most expensive borrowing cost in a generation, and there is no cavalry coming to rescue you. So let me put some numbers on this so you can really feel it. If you are carrying the average American credit card balance of $6,800 at 21% interest and you are making the minimum payment, which most people do because that is what the statement tells them to pay, it will take you over 7 years to pay it off according to WalletHub's analysis. And you will pay approximately $3,600 in interest alone on that balance. That is more than 50% of the original debt just in interest. That $6,800 actually cost you $10,400 to pay off. And that is assuming you never add another dollar to the balance. Which statistically, you will because the Federal Reserve Bank of New York's own research shows that credit card usage is now being driven primarily by necessity spending, people putting groceries and utilities and gas on their cards because they do not have the cash to cover it. So, here is the plan, and I am going to give you the 2 most effective strategies that financial planners recommend. The first is called the avalanche method. You list all your debts from highest interest rate to lowest. You make minimum payments on everything except the one with the highest rate. And you throw every extra dollar you have at that highest rate debt until it is gone. Then you roll that payment into the next highest rate. This saves you the most money in total interest paid. It is mathematically optimal. The second method is called the snowball method. You list your debts from smallest balance to largest. You pay off the smallest one first, regardless of interest rate, then roll that payment into the next smallest. This method costs you slightly more in total interest, but it gives you psychological wins faster, which for a lot of people is the difference between sticking with the plan and giving up. Neither method works. The worst method is the one most Americans use, which is making minimum payments across the board while the interest compounds and the balances barely move. And here is a move that could immediately save you money if you have decent credit. Look into a balance transfer credit card that offers a 0% introductory APR for 12 to 21 months. Several major issuers still offer these. What you are doing is moving your high-interest balance to a card that charges zero interest for a promotional period, giving you a window to pay down the principal without interest, eating up your payments. The transfer fee is typically 3 to 5% of the balance, which on $6,800 is about $200 to $340. That sounds like a lot until you compare it to the $3,600 in interest you would have paid over 7 years on the original card. It is not even close. And if a balance transfer is not available to you, call your current credit card company and ask for a rate reduction. Most people do not know this, but credit card companies will sometimes lower your rate if you ask, especially if you have been a long-term customer with a good payment history. The worst they can say is no. But a reduction from 21% to even 16 or 17% could save you hundreds of dollars over the life of the balance. The bottom line is this. In a rising cost environment where every other bill in your life is going up, the last thing you can afford is to be hemorrhaging money to credit card interest that is compounding against you every single day. Every dollar you pay toward that principal is a dollar that stops working for the bank and starts working for you. And in the economy we are heading into, that shift is not just smart, it is survival. Number 5. You are almost certainly overpaying for car insurance by hundreds of dollars a year, and 15 minutes on the phone this week could be the easiest money you have ever saved. This one is going to make some of you genuinely angry, because what I am about to tell you is something that the insurance industry has been banking on you not knowing for years, and it is costing American drivers an insane amount of money. According to Money Management International, American drivers are overpaying for their auto insurance by an average of $368 per year. That is not a small number. That is a car payment for some people. And the reason this is happening is almost entirely because of one thing: loyalty. Most people pick an insurance company when they are 20 or 25 years old, and they just stay with them forever because it feels safe and because switching seems like a hassle. But here is what the insurance industry does not want you to understand. Within any given zip code, car insurance rates can vary by up to 154% on average between companies for the exact same driver with the exact same coverage. That means you could be paying $2,400 a year while someone in the same neighborhood with the same driving record and the same car is paying $1,200 for identical coverage just because they shopped around and you did not. The average American consumer now pays $2,679 a year for car insurance, according to Bankrate. Premiums are up over 30% since 2023, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In states like Florida, Louisiana, and Nevada, the average annual premium is over $3,500, and in New York it tops $4,000. And a Consumer Reports survey of over 40,000 policyholders found that 38% reported their premiums went up between $50 and $199 within the previous 12 months, with 22% seeing increases of $200 or more. And all of this was happening before the Iran war, which is now introducing additional upward pressure because rising vehicle costs from tariffs and energy-driven supply chain increases mean the replacement cost that insurance is calibrated to is going up. So here is what I need you to do this week. And I mean this week because every month you wait is another month of overpaying. Step 1, get at least 3 to 5 quotes from different insurance companies. You can do this online in about 15 minutes through comparison tools on sites like NerdWallet or the Zebra, or by calling companies directly. Make sure you are comparing the exact same coverage limits and deductibles across every quote. If you do not standardize the comparison, the numbers mean nothing. Step 2, look at your deductible. Most people carry a $500 deductible on comprehensive and collision. Raising it to $1,000 typically saves you 15 to 30% on those portions of your premium. On a $2,400 annual premium, that could be $360 to $720 in savings. Now, only do this if you have the emergency fund we talked about in number 9 to cover the higher deductible if you need to file a claim. If you have a 90-day war chest built up, you can absolutely handle a $1,000 deductible. Step 3. Ask about every single discount available. Insurance discounts are not automatic. You have to ask. Bundling auto with home or renter's insurance saves 15 to 25%. Defensive driving courses get you a discount. Paperless billing and autopay get you 3 to 5%. Low mileage discounts, good student discounts, anti-theft device discounts, military and professional association discounts. MoneyGeek reported that combining multiple strategies can save drivers $300 to $1,500 annually. And here is the one most people really do not know. If your car is paid off and worth less than 10 times what you pay annually for comprehensive and collision coverage, you should seriously consider dropping those coverages entirely and just carrying liability, which is the legally required minimum in almost every state. If your car is worth $5,000 and you are paying $600 a year for comp and collision, you are essentially insuring something for more than it is worth. Drop it and put that $600 into your emergency fund instead. An ARP writer reported saving $2,680 a year just by shopping around and switching companies. That is $223 a month. In an economy where people are putting groceries on credit cards because they do not have the cash, finding $200 a month in savings by making one phone call is not optional. It is irresponsible not to. Number 4. Stop relying on one paycheck in a war economy. You need a second income stream, and here are the ones that actually work right now. I know this is going to hit a nerve for a lot of people because nobody wants to hear that they need to work more. Everyone is already exhausted. Everyone is already stretched thin. I get it. But I need to be real with you because the data demands it. The U.S. economy lost 92,000 jobs in February. The unemployment rate is at 4.4% and climbing. Companies announced 1.2 million job cuts in 2025, according to Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, the highest total outside a recession or pandemic since they started tracking in 1989. And 45% of Americans already have a side hustle, which tells you that the traditional single-income model is already broken for nearly half the country. This is not about hustling for fun. This is about survival math. When every cost in your life is going up, gas, food, utilities, insurance, and your primary income is either flat or at risk, the only variable you can actually control is how many income streams you have. And in a war economy where the Fed is trapped, where businesses are freezing hiring, where the rockets and feathers dynamic means elevated prices for the next 2 years minimum, having only one source of income is a vulnerability that you cannot afford. So let me give you the options that are actually realistic for someone who already has a full-time job and is not looking to become an entrepreneur, just looking to add $400 to $800 a month to their household income. That range is significant because the average side hustler in America earns about $443 a month according to Self Financial's 2025 survey. And that $443 a month is $5,300 a year, which covers the entire annual increase in gas costs, grocery costs, and utility costs that the war is about to impose on the average household. First, the fastest cash options. Delivery apps like DoorDash, Instacart, and Amazon Flex can get you approved same day and earning within 48 hours. Grocery delivery in particular is recession-resistant because people still need food regardless of what the economy is doing. The average hourly earnings range from $15 to $25 depending on your market and time slots. Evening and weekend shifts are the most in demand. Second, if you have any professional skill at all, freelancing on platforms like Upwork or Fiverr can be dramatically more lucrative. Bookkeeping, social media management, copywriting, graphic design, virtual assistants, all of these are in high demand and pay between $25 and $75 an hour depending on your experience. And the World Economic Forum found that workers can expect 39% of their existing skills to be transformed or become outdated by 2030. Which means the skills you build through a side hustle now are not just earning you money today, they are protecting your employability tomorrow. Third, the one that requires zero skills and zero startup cost, selling what you already own. Financial coach Emily Guy Birkin said people underestimate how much value is sitting in their garages and attics. Go through your house this weekend. Old electronics, clothes you have not worn in a year, furniture you do not use, tools, kitchen appliances, kids' stuff they have outgrown. Post it on Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or eBay. Most households can generate $500 to $2,000 in a single cleanout, and that money goes straight into your emergency fund. And fourth, the one nobody talks about that is genuinely one of the biggest opportunities in America right now, services for seniors. 10,000 Americans turn 65 every single day. This demographic has money, needs help, and overwhelmingly prefers human assistance over apps. Tech support for seniors, light handyman work, lawn care, house cleaning, companion visits, these are recession-proof services with almost zero competition in most neighborhoods, and they pay $25 to $50 an hour in cash. The point is not to work yourself to death. The point is to create a financial buffer that gives you options. If your main job disappears tomorrow, which in this economy is a real possibility for millions of people, the difference between having zero income and having even $1,500 a month coming in from a side hustle is the difference between making it and falling apart. In a war economy, One paycheck is one point of failure. Do not be a single point of failure. Number 3. The subscriptions you forgot about are bleeding you dry at the worst possible time, and I bet you have no idea how much they actually cost. Guys, I am about to show you something that is going to genuinely shock you when you add it up, and it is the thing that financial advisors say is the single easiest win for any household trying to free up cash immediately. It is your subscriptions, not the ones you use every day, the ones you forgot you were paying for, the ones that auto-renew quietly on your credit card every month while you are not looking, the ones that started at 9.99 and are now 14.99 because every single company in America has been raising prices on their subscription tiers for the past 2 years, knowing that most people will not cancel because most people do not even remember they are subscribed. Let me paint the picture for you with some numbers. The average American household now spends between $100 and $300 a month on recurring subscriptions according to multiple consumer spending analyses. That includes streaming services, cloud storage, music platforms, app subscriptions, gym memberships, meal kit services, news sites, software tools, and the premium tiers on things you could be using for free. And most people have absolutely no idea what the total is because these charges come in small amounts that do not trigger the same psychological alarm as a $300 bill all at once. They hit your card as 12.99, here 15.99 there, 6.99 for something else, and individually they feel harmless. But when you add them all up, you are looking at $1,200 to $3,600 a year in recurring charges, and I guarantee you are not getting $3,600 of value from all of them. Apple TV just raised their price from $9.99 to $12.99. Amazon raised their ad-free tier from $2.99 to $4.99. Netflix has raised prices repeatedly, Spotify has raised prices, YouTube Premium has raised prices. Every single platform is squeezing you for more money every year because they know the behavioral inertia is on their side. You signed up once, and the billing just keeps going and going and going. And here is why this matters so much right now in the context of everything we have been talking about. When gas is up $1, groceries are climbing 10 to 15%, electricity is spiking, and credit card interest is locked at 21%, every dollar that leaks out of your budget without providing real value is a dollar that should have gone toward your emergency fund, your debt payoff, your pantry stockpile, or your utility bill. So here is what I want you to do this weekend. Pull up your credit card statement and your bank statement from the last month. Go line by line and highlight every recurring charge, every single one. Then ask yourself 3 questions about each one. When was the last time I actually used this? Would I sign up for this today at this price if I did not already have it? And what would change in my life if I canceled it right now? If you cannot give a strong answer to all 3, cancel it. Today. Not next month. Today. Because the auto-renew is counting on you saying I will get to it later, and you never will. And let me give you one more trick that almost nobody knows. For subscriptions you do want to keep, call the company and tell them you are thinking about canceling. A huge percentage of subscription services have retention offers that they will not show you unless you threaten to leave. You can often get 20 to 50% off for 3 to 6 months just by making that one phone call. The company would rather keep you at a discount than lose you entirely. I know some of this sounds small, guys. I know 12.99 here and 15.99 there does not feel like it matters when we are talking about wars and oil shocks and trillion-dollar deficits. But here is the reality of personal finance in 2026. You cannot control what the Fed does. You cannot control what oil prices do. You cannot control the fertilizer crisis, or the diesel spike, or the insurance market. But you can control where your money goes every single month. And if you can free up $100 or $200 a month by cutting subscriptions you do not even use, that is $100 or $200 that goes straight into your war chest, straight toward your credit card payoff, straight toward the grocery buffer that is going to protect your family when the next wave of price increases hits. Small leaks sink big ships, and right now your ship cannot afford a single unnecessary leak. Number 2, your 401k is not on autopilot, it is on a collision course, and if you do not open it and look inside right now, this war could erase years of your retirement. Okay guys, this is the one I have been dreading talking about because I know how personal this is for people, and I know the emotional weight of it. But I would not be doing my job if I did not tell you this. If you have a 401k, an IRA, a TSP, a pension, or any retirement account that is invested in the stock market, you need to stop what you are doing, log into that account, and look at what you actually own. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because for the vast majority of Americans, your retirement savings are sitting in a default allocation that was set years ago, possibly when you first got hired and clicked through an enrollment screen in 5 minutes without reading anything, and it has never been updated to reflect where we are right now. And where we are right now is in a war economy with oil above $100 a barrel, a Fed that cannot cut rates, a private credit market showing cracks that JP Morgan's CEO compared to cockroaches, and a stock market that has already seen the Dow drop 400 points in a single day since the strikes began. Kiplinger published an article this month saying there is a perfect storm right now, the US at war, a jump in energy prices, uncertainty about interest rates, and a potential AI bubble that continues to spook investors with Nvidia's size and volatility of particular concern. Sam Stovall, the chief investment strategist at CFRA Research, said investors should not allow their emotions to be their portfolio's worst enemy. And he is right. But you know what is worse than emotional panic selling? Not knowing what you own in the first place. And that is where most Americans are right now. They have no idea what is inside their 401k. They do not know their asset allocation. They do not know how much is in stocks versus bonds versus cash. They do not know if they are 90% in equities at age 58, or if their entire retirement is concentrated in their employer's stock, which is one of the most dangerous things you can do, and yet millions of Americans do it. So let me give you the specific playbook. Step 1. Log into your retirement account today and look at your current allocation. What percentage is in stocks? What percentage is in bonds? What percentage is in cash or stable value funds? Write those numbers down. Step 2. Apply the simple rule of thumb that financial planners have used for decades. Take 110 and subtract your age. That is roughly the percentage of your portfolio that should be in stocks. If you are 40, that is 70% stocks, 30% bonds and cash. If you are 55, that is 55% stocks, 45% bonds and cash. If you are 62, that is 48% stocks, 52% in more conservative holdings. If your actual allocation is way off from those numbers, you are either taking too much risk for your age or not enough. Either one is a problem, but right now, in this environment, taking too much risk when you are close to retirement is the one that could devastate you. Step 3. If you are within 5 to 10 years of retirement, you need to have 1 to 2 years of living expenses in stable, accessible holdings, either in a money market fund, a stable value fund, or short-term treasuries. This is your retirement cash buffer. The reason this matters is because of something called sequence of returns risk. If the market drops 30% in the year you retire and you are forced to sell investments at the bottom to fund your living expenses, those losses are locked in permanently and your portfolio may never recover. But if you have 2 years of cash set aside, you can live off that cash while the market recovers without selling a single share at a loss. The Motley Fool published an article literally today, March 23, 2026, saying that if you are set on retiring this year, keeping 1 to 2 years of living expenses in cash is the most important move you can make, and the 2020 crash is the proof. The Dow fell from 29,551 in February 2020 to 19,000 by March 2020. Investors who panicked and sold locked in catastrophic losses. Those who stayed invested saw the Dow cross 34,000 just 13 months later. The people who had cash on hand survived. The people who did not either delayed retirement by years or never recovered at all. Step 4, and this is critical, do not stop contributing. Every dollar you put into your 401k during a down market is buying shares at a discount. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it is the single most powerful wealth-building mechanism available to an ordinary person. Your employer's match is free money. If they match 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%, that is an immediate 50% return on your contribution before the market does anything. Do not leave that on the table because you are scared. Fear is not a financial strategy, but neither is ignorance. Log in, look at what you own, rebalance if you need to. Build your cash buffer if you are close to retirement, and keep contributing. Those 4 things will put you ahead of 90% of Americans who are going to let this war silently erode their retirement because they never bothered to open the app and check. Number 1, the most important thing you can do right now has nothing to do with money, and if you skip this one, none of the other 9 will matter. Alright guys, I saved this for last because it is the one that nobody in the finance world wants to talk about because it does not fit neatly into a spreadsheet or a budget template. But after everything we have covered in this video, the audit, the emergency fund, the pantry stockpile, the utility rates, the credit card attack plan, the insurance savings, the side hustle, the subscription purge, the 401k rebalance, after all of that, the single most important thing you can do right now is take care of your mental health. And I know that sounds soft. I know some of you are rolling your eyes. I know the comment section is about to light up with people saying stick to the numbers and stop with the feelings. But the data says you are wrong if you think mental health does not belong in a financial survival plan. The American Psychiatric Association found that 59% of Americans are anxious about their personal finances right now. 77% say financial stress has disrupted their sleep. 60% have delayed getting mental health treatment because they cannot afford it. The American Institute of Stress reports that 83% of U.S. workers are experiencing work-related stress, and a 2025 Talker research survey found that 70% of Americans describe their financial anxiety as unprecedented, with 76% saying they feel utterly alone in the struggle. Now connect those numbers to what we know about behavior. When people are financially stressed and sleep-deprived and anxious, they make worse decisions. They impulse spend to cope. They avoid opening their bills. They do not do the audit. They do not build the emergency fund. They do not rebalance their 401k. They freeze. And that freeze, that paralysis that comes from being so overwhelmed that you do nothing, is more expensive than any single financial mistake on this list. Because every day you wait to cut the subscription bleed, to call the insurance company, to open that retirement account, to start that side hustle, is a day that the compound math works against you instead of for you. And here is the part that hit me hardest when I was researching this. The CEO of AMFM Healthcare said behind every inflation statistic is a real person lying awake at night. And a study published in JAMA Psychiatry found that prolonged financial stress doubles your risk of developing metabolic syndrome, which includes high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and excess abdominal fat, all of which increase cardiovascular risk. Your financial stress is not just making you anxious, it is literally making you sick, and the sickness costs money, and the money costs more stress, and the cycle does not break on its own. So here is what I want you to do, and it is not complicated. First, talk to somebody, not a financial advisor, a human being, a friend, a family member, a partner, a coworker. Tell them you are stressed about money. Tell them what you are worried about. The 76% of Americans who feel alone in this need to understand that almost everybody around them is feeling the exact same thing. You are not the only one. You are in the majority. And the act of saying it out loud breaks the isolation that makes it worse. Second, stop consuming financial news as entertainment. I say this as somebody who makes financial content. If you are doom scrolling through economic collapse videos at midnight and it is making your anxiety worse, you need to set a boundary. Get your information, make your plan, and then close the app. Information is only useful if it leads to action. If it leads to paralysis, it is hurting you. Third, take one action from this video today. Not all 10. 1. Do the audit, or open one high-yield savings account, or get one insurance quote, or cancel one subscription. One action breaks the freeze, and once you have taken one, the second one becomes easier, and the third, and the fourth. That is how momentum works. It starts with one move. And fourth, do not wait until things get better to start living. I know this economy is brutal. I know the war is making it worse. I know the prices are going up and the paychecks are not keeping up and the safety net is fraying and it feels like no matter what you do, you are falling behind. But the people who come out of hard times in better shape than they went in are not the ones who waited for the storm to pass. They are the ones who started building in the rain. Every single tip in this video is something you can do this week with the resources you already have. You do not need to make more money to start. You do not need the economy to improve to take action. You just need to decide that you are going to stop being a passive passenger in your own financial life and start driving. That is the number one thing you can do right now. Not just for your wallet, for your health, for your family, for your sanity, for your future. All right, guys, that is all 10. If this video helped you, do me a favor and send it to one person you know who is stressed about money right now. Not for the algorithm, for them. Because the information in this video could genuinely change how somebody navigates the next 12 months, and they deserve to have it. Subscribe if you have not already, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves out there. We are going to get through this.